All right, hi everybody. Here from the Buffalo Bills Fieldhouse. They just wrapped up an OTA today, the second of three this week. Then it's mandatory minicamp next week. I'm joined by new Buffalo Bills wide receiver Joshua Palmer. Josh, thanks for coming out here. And first things first, I just said both Joshua and Josh. What would you like to be called by fans and media?
You can call me Joshua.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joshua Palmer. You have an interesting path to Buffalo. You are actually from this area, but a little bit north of the border, Brampton, Ontario.
Yeah.
Then you obviously head to college at Tennessee. You go out to the LA Chargers. You're in Buffalo. Let's talk about your journey a little bit. First of all, why did you sign with the Buffalo Bills?
I told my agents that I wanted to sign with a team that wanted me. So if they want me, I want them. I don't really care where it is or what the weather is like. And it came down to Buffalo, and that's why I decided to come here.
When you see the Bills are a team that wants you, and you know Josh Allen's out here, league MVP, how much does that appeal to you?
A lot. The feeling of being wanted and knowing that you're going to a team that is doing well in the NFL and is very close to winning, and has had stability for almost 10 years now. So, it's heartwarming, and it's what's the words I'm looking for? I'm looking for all the words.
Yeah.
It is. It just makes me really happy.
You were described today by your offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, as a very intelligent football player. When you hear a coach say that about you, what does it mean to you?
It makes you want to study more, so I can prove myself right and prove him right as well. And I just come out here and just grind and work and be there for my teammates.
All right. When you walk into a new locker room, especially one like this, that's everybody's been here for a while, they've had all the success. What's the first thing you got to do? Is it learn the playbook, learn the coaches, learn your teammates? How does Joshua Palmer go about making sure he ingratiates himself into his new team and locker room?
You definitely learn the players. I think that will take his time. There's a lot of players on the team. Probably learning the team is the most important, but of course, my job is to know the offense and know the plays. So I put a lot of effort in knowing that. And once I know that, then my teammates can trust me, and then you build even more trust and camaraderie. So
let's talk about you growing up in Canada, not far from here. I remember your introductory press conference. You said you're a basketball guy, not as much of a hockey guy. From Canada, Toronto Raptors fan. Did you go to a lot of games growing up?
I went to a few games growing up, not too many. I played a lot of basketball. I played football, basketball, and soccer. Quit soccer before I got to high school. I just didn't like it anymore. Then I quit football too. Was focusing on basketball. Then picked back up football in high school and dropped basketball.
What do you think about when you get out here and you see Vince Carter is a part owner? You got Ronald Curry out here, who is a football, basketball star. Obviously, pretty crazy to see so many incredible athletes you watch in other sports as well.
It's amazing. You watch Vince Carter on TV and to find out he's part owner in the team. It's definitely exciting, and one day I'll meet him and talk about it.
Well, he was here the other day, so I'm sure he'll be here again. So I got a bone to pick with you. I got to be honest. I went to Syracuse. I'm a big Syracuse fan. You committed to Syracuse. You were going to go to Syracuse. You didn't. You eventually went to Tennessee. What brought you to Tennessee, and why did you ultimately decide not to go to Syracuse?
I just felt at home at Tennessee. Very, very long story, but to keep it short, Tennessee I felt comfortable. I felt like I was in Brampton. It's kind of weird to explain because it's not the same as Brampton, but I just felt safe in a way. Walking the streets by myself at nighttime just to see how I felt, and I felt good.
And obviously, coming from Canada, you go down to Florida. You're in Florida. You went to a famous high school, right? St. Thomas Aquinas. You went. That's Joey Bosa goes there, right? I mean, you have all these different incredible athletes have gone there. What's it like going to a high school like that and playing in a program that's produced so many great athletes?
It forces you to get better. You're surrounded by a lot of guys that are very talented. So even if you don't want to get better, you're going to get better because it raises your game. Going up against top DBs, playing against top wide receivers, you want to succeed in those rooms, and especially at that school. So if you're a competitor, your ego won't allow you to just be average.
All right, so just I know you got to get going lifting here. I'm gonna let you do that in a second. Let me ask you, what do you like about being in Buffalo, or what's been an adjustment about being in Buffalo? Yeah, you did grow up across the border, but you've also lived in a big city like LA. What does Joshua Palmer like to do when he's away from the facility?
I like to read a lot. I study really because I'm Muslim, so I study the religion a lot.
Okay.
Most of my time is either spent with family or in the religion. To be honest, studying, reading. That's how I spend most of my time.
And then when you leave the facility today, you'll have a lot of places you can go out and eat. You enjoy the nightlife in Buffalo as far as restaurants. Not saying going clubbing or anything like that, but everybody talks about the restaurants, the chicken wings, things like that. Have you been able to do that?
Slowly but surely. I mean, I've been eating a lot of the food here, just trying to save some money. I'm still kind of living out of a suitcase, but yeah, I think over time I'm gonna venture out more and visit some more spots for sure.
What do you got planned between what they call the dead period? You leave here after next week, you come back to training camp. You got any family plans, vacation plans, anything to kind of take a little downtime before training camp?
Not planned yet. Right now, just chilling. Nothing planned just now.
Let's talk about some taste. What about music? Let me ask you a question. If I put your iPhone or your whatever you have for music, you put it on shuffle, what's the most likely artist or group to come up that you'd be listening to?
Right now, probably like Islamic chants, Islamic music. I don't really listen to much rap and stuff anymore as I used to, but I have a couple artists from the UK. I know my boy Gliz he's very talented out there. Shout out to Gliz. Yeah, I keep it simple. I like a lot of crooners type music. So Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. So I like a lot of that.
You sing it all? You karaoke, Frank Sinatra?
No, I don't sing. I don't sing. I just like
any instruments. Playing instruments?
No.
Do you ever have any interest? Do you want to learn something?
I never had time because I was always playing. I was always playing sports, so I never had time to like take piano lessons or take this lesson or take that lesson. It would have been too much on my plate.
I totally get that. Your coaching staff, real quick, before I let you go, what's it been like kind of getting to know these guys? Joe Brady, your offensive coordinator. Obviously, Adam Henry, now who's a doctor, by the way, gets his PhD. Adam Henry, congratulations. Bill's wide receiver coach. What's the coaching staff been like for you?
Awesome. They're all very relatable. You can talk to them all. I'm getting to know them slowly, of course. I don't talk to every coach. Just position wise, you can't talk to defensive coaches or tight end coach, So I'm getting to know Coach Henry very well, Coach Brady. I think we're gonna have a great relationship.
Joshua Palmer, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Great to get to know you.
Thank you so much.
Go lift. I know you got to do that. All right, Joshua Palmer, he's gonna go lift right now. Yeah, so we're down here, One Bills Drive. I got to thank all my sponsors. Total Sports Entertainment, Total Sports Enterprises. I think I've said entertainment before. I should say Total Sports Enterprises, TSC Buffalo, tscbuffalo.com. Make sure you head over there for all your signings, collectibles. They're doing a great job. And, they have so many different events going on throughout the summer and into the fall, especially some different weekends. We'll be working with them. So make sure you're paying attention to them. TSC Buffalo. Sports City Pizza Pub, of course, 1407 Niagara Street, right there on Niagara Street, in the heart of really the west side of Buffalo, not too far actually from where I live. You might see me over there because I love to go to Sports City Pizza Pub, the wings, the pizza this time of year, NBA playoffs. You got the NHL Stanley Cup finals obviously going on, baseball, and of course all the football games. Herbal IQ, 6300 Transit Road in Depew, a New York State licensed dispensary. They've been with me for a while, so thank you very much. And back as a sponsor for this time period is Fans of Buffalo. Flights, hotels, game tickets, tailgates. Book your entire Buffalo sports travel package at fansofbuffalo.com. All right. So make sure you do that. They're going to be here and selling, like, you want to go to a game in, where are you going to go? Houston this year, Atlanta for a Monday night game, Carolina, want to go play some golf out there, Miami. It's a Sunday afternoon game again in November. It's a great trip. Go to fansofbuffalo.com. All right. Took some notes here on today's practice. I think the biggest thing to take away from practice today was maybe who was not there, because Josh Allen was not at practice. In fact, he got married, as you probably know, over the weekend. James Cook, not at practice. We know he's going through the contract situation. We'll see next week if he's here for mandatory minicamp. Cam Lewis, no word on, specifically why he wasn't there. Didn't see him. And of course, Joey Bosa, who's dealing with the calf injury. Balen Spector, DeMar Hamlin, and Spencer Brown all stood on the sidelines with no helmet. Now, Spector from the beginning was out there, was not participating. Hamlin and Brown weren't there at the beginning. They came out later. They had helmets. They did not have helmets on. They didn't participate. They stood off to the side. Taron Johnson wore a red non-contact jersey, but he did, from what I saw, appear to participate fully in this particular practice. And then Josh Palmer, the guy, I keep saying Josh, and I want to remind myself to say Joshua, so I apologize. It might take some getting used to. Joshua Palmer did individual position work, and then he eventually came out. He didn't take any team reps. Before we came on here, I did ask him about it. He said he was fine, so I didn't want to really get into it necessarily on here, but he said he was fine, and that was, just something to monitor. But he never left the field, and he obviously did this interview. He did stay on the sidelines with his helmet. Look, I mean, let's take these one by one. First of all, Josh Allen not being there, noticeable with the offense. Without Josh Allen there, the biggest thing that I noticed was quarterbacks not getting rid of the ball quick enough. Pass rush getting home a few times, and that's obviously got to change. You know, if you're going to have, if Josh Allen misses any time whatsoever, you know, you want to make sure that your quarterbacks, whoever's in the game, whether it's Mr. Trubisky, Mike White, Shane Buechele, they're understanding and getting rid of the ball. It was just a noticeable difference when Josh was not in the game. When in practice today, he wasn't there. Obviously, Balin Spector, this is a guy that has had quite a few injury issues. He was on the IR injury reserve list twice last year. Soft tissue injuries, just doesn't seem like he can stay quite available. And I've been saying it for a while. I think Joe Andreessen wins that middle linebacker backup job behind Terrell Bernard. And today we saw, Balin Spector on the sidelines. I think it gives more opportunity for a guy like Joe Andreessen. I think Andreessen wins that job, but Balin Spector's got to be on the field and just hasn't been. Damar Hamlin, again, not sure exactly why. He was not out there today, whatever he's dealing with, but more opportunity for Cole Bishop. I think Cole Bishop's the front runner anyway for that job. But interesting today, we heard from defensive coordinator Bobby Babich, who talked about Cole Bishop and his growth in year 2, and the comfortability was the word that he used, comfortability in year 2. And he missed, so much of training camp last year. Those were valuable reps for Cole Bishop. So obviously, coming into year 2, being more comfortable, getting all the reps. I just think Cole Bishop is a guy that this team is really going to have to rely on. To me, is a very important piece to the Buffalo Bills, not only defense, but entire roster, about how they have to kind of play on the back end. And of course, Taylor Rapp is back there. Interesting from Bobby Babich earlier. And I tweeted about a lot of this at Sal Sports, by the way, on X. You see it right there. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on X, follow on X, all of that. But Taylor Rapp, from what Bobby Babich said he had a really good year last year. And he tackled so well. And that's such a big component to what the Bills do in the secondary. And then Spencer Brown. And, Spencer, I believe from some pictures I saw, was at Josh Allen's wedding over the weekend. So were Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Deion Dawkins. They were all here at practice. So whatever Spencer's dealing with, he wasn't out on the field today for any drills, doing any participation, but he was out there without a helmet on. Like I said, he came out a little bit late. Taron Johnson, even though he's in the red non-contact jersey, he was out and he participated, like I said, pretty much fully from what I could see. Okay, if you want some additional content, by the way, additional content for everybody, go subscribe to me on X at Sal Sports. You don't just follow. You hit the pink subscribe button on my profile page. You subscribe. The cost is less than a cup of coffee a month, essentially, okay? And you're going to get additional content, exclusive content. We have a Discord server that we have interactions going on with you, with me. You have more access to me through DMs and other ways. I got video from practice, otherwise, different things. So subscribe to me on Twitter as well, at Sal Sports. Not just follow, but make sure you subscribe. Okay, today I thought was a good day for the tight ends. We had Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Zach Davidson, all making some plays around the field, which was really good to see. Didn't matter from what quarterbacks they were. Also out of the backfield, Ty Johnson had a couple of nice plays. In fact, one was really interesting. Dorian Williams had really good coverage of Ty Johnson over the middle. Ball was threaded in. I can't remember who threw the ball, actually. I think it might have been Mitch Trubisky. But Dorian Williams was right there, and Ty Johnson makes the play, cuts upfield, and Dorian Williams was so visibly upset, like, I can't believe that just happened. I was right there to make the play. So that was good to see, but it's also part of the byproduct to me of, again, not necessarily getting rid of the ball, as quick as maybe these guys want to get rid of the ball, and they're checking it over to the tight end or to the running back. Now, it wasn't all just check downs to the tight end. A couple of nice plays down the field, including Dalton Kincaid, who got down the field a couple of times, especially one on a bit of a corner pattern. Speaking of corner patterns, that's how Max Hairston was beat by Tyrell Shavers, but I would say he had pretty good coverage. Tyrell Shavers is taller, went up, got the ball from Max Hairston, the Bills' first-round cornerback, but I thought Max had pretty good coverage. Didn't have very good coverage a little bit later when Keon Coleman beat him down the sidelines, but unfortunately, Coleman dropped the ball, like right in his hands, just dropped the ball. And Max Hairston, after the play, coaches told him, hey, I think we can't really hear exactly what's going on, but I think they were explaining him what he did wrong, even though Keon dropped the pass. That's, a play that you got to be in a better position for. A little bit later, he was also being told by a safety kind of where to line up. So I think it was a bit of an uneven day for Max Hairston. He had good coverage on that Shavers play, but, after that, a couple of uneven plays for him. Keon Coleman dropped that ball. You got to make the catch. A little bit later, makes a nice catch on a similar type of play that I just described for Shavers, makes a nice catch, kind of was running a little bit freed and, it was more of a zone coverage. He was in the zone. So he did a nice job there to kind of bounce back. I thought the D-line kind of beat the O-line today. Some of that was from the quarterbacks that I explained earlier and, some of the things that maybe they can get rid of the ball a little bit earlier. But I thought the D-line had a nice day. I focused a little bit on some of the guys in the D line, like Deion Walker, like Michael Hoyt, because Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, they're able to do everything here while, even though they're suspended 6 games, they're able to do everything. But the one guy that kind of stood out to me watching drills, Javon Solomon. I mean, Javon Solomon is he's powerful in his legs. I thought he had really quick feet. I'm going to be really interested in Javon Solomon, what role he could carve out, especially given Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi and their suspensions for the first 6 weeks of the year, because obviously they're going to have to rely on guys. And maybe if Joey Bosa, is he going to be available? We're not really sure, right? So he should be available for training camp, but I do think that, that's a guy, Javon Solomon, that might be able to do something. And as far as creating a role for himself on the field. All right. Once again, want to thank Total Sports Enterprises, TSC, tscbuffalo.com. Make sure you're checking them out. They got all your signings and gear and memorabilia, public signings, private signings. There's so many great things going on at TSC Buffalo. Check them out. Sports City Pizza Pub, 1407 Niagara Street. Wings, pizza, lots of drinks. The patio, the second Tuesday of every month, they're doing the pups on the patio. That's pretty cool. And in conjunction with SPCA, and they're having the pups out there, and it's going to be it's a great time. Plus, check out their golf tournament. Go to their website, Sports City Pizza Pub. Their golf tournament is on Monday, September 22nd. So that's going to be a great time as well. Let me make sure that's on September 22nd. Is that a Monday? Hold on. Bring up my calendar here. I don't want to get it wrong here. Yep, Monday, September 22nd, the Sports City Pizza Pub golf tournament. Herbal IQ, a New York State licensed dispensary, a fantastic brand new facility at 6300 Transit Road in Depew. And they got a lot of events going on. They have some car shows there. I think there was a drag racing thing. All, above board, able to do it, that was going on, that they were a part of. So check out everything they have going. Of course, Fans of Buffalo, fansofbuffalo.com, flights, hotels, game tickets, tailgates, book your entire Buffalo sports travel package at fansofbuffalo.com. If you want to go out to a city to watch the Bills, they'll take care of everything. You just call Fans of Buffalo. You go online, you check them out. They'll say, here's your price. We take care of everything from the hotel, the luggage, the trip over to the stadium from the hotel, flight out there, flight back, tailgating. It's all at fansofbuffalo.com. All right. So today we heard from OC Joe Brady. We heard from DC Bobby Babich. Told you a little bit about what Bobby Babich said about some of the guys. I also asked him kind of what he learned about his first year as a defensive coordinator. He said, going in that it's a first time for you to do a lot of things, right? You're always going to have a first time for everything that comes up, but you really, even though you know that when it happens, it's still something you have to go through. And he talked about that and how that's preparing him for every other first time that happens, if that makes sense, but also the consistency. He said he'd like to be a little bit more consistent. It starts with him on a week-to-week approach. So that was really interesting insight from Bobby Babich on exactly what that means. As far as Joe Brady is concerned, I asked him what he learned going through the head coach process for offense as an offensive coordinator, was looking for a head coach job last year, was up for a couple, I should say. And he said, not necessarily anything about himself, but he learned though that you get to know other people and it's kind of a two-way interview, not just them interviewing you. And he said he was just himself during those interviews because let's be honest, they were in the playoffs and he's coming off the field and doing practices, getting ready. So he's just himself. He's not preparing for the interviews like maybe he would if he had time that the team was eliminated. So he was just himself. He did these interviews and, hey, let the chips fall where they may. Eventually, I think he interviewed the Jags, maybe the Bears, the Saints, but then he took his name out of it. And he said, obviously he's happy where he is. He came back to Buffalo. He took his name out of the Saints job, but just how he took his approach last year of, hey, I was coaching a team. I was just myself. I got on these Zoom calls, just talked about what, I felt I needed to talk about. And it wasn't like the same kind of preparation you normally get, but he said that he was all right with that because he was happy where he was. And of course, happy with what they're doing. We also heard today from Chris Tabor. He's actually talking right now, just a little bit down there. He is the Bills special teams coordinator. So we'll have a lot of sound for you, of course, all over platforms at Sal Sports, WGR550.com as well. But this is a Sal's House podcast. Joshua Palmer joining me right now. And maybe next week we'll see what else we can do as far as when mandatory minicamp comes about. This is the last time we'll be here for OTAs. Mandatory minicamp starts next week. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. All right. Like I said, you want exclusive content, subscribe to me. Don't just follow at Sal Sports on Twitter. Make sure you hit that pink subscribe button. And then next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have more for you here. And of course, the big storyline next week is going to be, is James Cook here at minicamp, mandatory minicamp. Other news today, outside of Buffalo, Gabe Davis visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see if things work out. Remember a while ago, after the Pittsburgh Steelers traded George Pickens, and then it was Gabe Davis getting released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was not the only one, but I said, hey, that could be something where he could be a fit. In fact, I know that the Steelers were interested in Gabe when he was a free agent last year, just like the Bears were, and a couple other teams. Just like the Giants with Brian Daboll would be a good fit, but it does seem like maybe the Steelers could be a type of fit for Gabe Davis. We'll see where that goes with Gabe Davis. In the meantime, and how about Saquon Barkley on the cover of Madden? Pretty cool picture there. Last year was Josh Allen. I saw the behind the scenes stuff. Saquon jumping over the defender the way he did. It looked like he was suspended in midair. Now my son showed me something where he actually had some straps on him, but you couldn't see him on one of the angles. But I don't know. I don't know if it was camera tricks or what, but it was a pretty cool thing to see with Saquon Barkley there on the cover of Madden. Okay. Thank you very much for coming aboard today. We'll have a lot more content for you at Sal Sports on all the platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, it doesn't matter, Facebook at Sal Sports, and of course, TSE Buffalo, TSEbuffalo.com, Sports City Pizza Pub, Herbal IQ, fans of Buffalo. Make sure you're checking them out for all your tailgating needs this year at every away city. Book them if you want to travel on the road, go to a game, and have a great time. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you very much to my producer, Colin Ritchie, for joining us here from One Bills Drive and the Buffalo Bills Fieldhouse after OTAs. And of course, thank you to Joshua Palmer.